Hello and welcome back to the channel. The 19th century was an age of brilliance, a time when imagination, science, and daring hands changed the world forever. But who were the minds behind the machines? Thanks to AI facial restoration and colorization, we've brought 20 legendary inventors of the 1800s back to life. No longer just textbook names or faded engravings. These are real faces, full of intensity, curiosity, and vision. Let us know in the comments which inventor's story or face impressed you most. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss another return from the past. Let's begin. 1. Michael Faraday. Michael Faraday stands as one of history's most profound self-taught geniuses, a man who rose from humble beginnings to fundamentally reshape civilization. With little formal education, his insatiable curiosity drove him to conduct pioneering experiments that unlocked the secrets of electricity and magnetism, discovering the principles that form the basis of the electric motor, generator, and transformer. He didn't just study the world, he laid the very groundwork for the modern, electrified age we now inhabit. While his legacy is ubiquitous, his face is often seen only in faded 19th century portraits. Now, through the remarkable precision of artificial intelligence, these images are being brought to life. The digital restoration process peels back the years to reveal a humble, yet intensely focused gaze, allowing us to look directly into the eyes of the man who could perceive the invisible forces of the universe. The very eyes that foresaw and literally lit the future for us all. 2. Samuel Morse. Before he revolutionized communication, Samuel Morse was an acclaimed portrait painter, a man whose career represents one of history's most fascinating pivots from art to invention. He channeled his creative intellect into developing the single-wire telegraph and its iconic language, Morse code, an innovation that effectively erased distance and shrank the world. For the first time, complex information could travel across continents in minutes rather than weeks, forever altering commerce, politics, and personal connection. Today, this pivotal figure is being viewed with newfound intimacy through the lens of artificial intelligence. The digital restoration of his early portraits reveals a profoundly thoughtful face, its serious brow and steady gaze conveying the immense creative energy and sharply focused concentration required to envision such a world-altering system. In his restored features, we see the meticulous mind of the artist-turned-inventor who connected the globe with a sequence of dots and dashes. 3. Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla was the quintessential eccentric visionary, a maverick genius whose mind operated on a different frequency from the rest of the world. As the driving force behind alternating current, he literally powered the modern age, yet his true legacy lies in the countless other innovations, from radio waves to remote control, and the even grander, unrealized dreams of wireless global energy. He was part inventor, part showman, and entirely ahead of his time. This legendary figure is now being brought into sharp, almost electric focus by artificial intelligence. The digital restoration of his portraits brings back his famously intense stare and sharp, sculpted features with startling clarity, revealing a face that is both severe and visionary. In these revitalized images, we see the perfect fusion of his identity, part disciplined inventor meticulously charting the future, and part wild-eyed prophet who looked as though he were receiving transmissions directly from it. 4. Thomas Edison. Known as the Wizard of Menlo Park, Thomas Edison was less a lone genius and more an industrial force, a man who systematized the very process of discovery. He held over 1,000 patents, effectively inventing the modern research and development lab and giving the world transformative technologies like the phonograph, the motion picture camera, and the first commercially viable incandescent light bulb. His legacy is one of relentless and tangible creation. Now, this titan of American ingenuity is being seen in a new light through the lens of artificial intelligence. Restored photographs cut through the historical veneer to show a practical, supremely confident man whose eyes seem physically fixed on progress. Unlike the wild-eyed prophets of science, Edison's restored image reveals a grounded, determined expression, the face of a pragmatist whose gaze is fixed not on a distant utopia, but on the next solvable problem and the next world-changing invention. 5. Elias Howe. Elias Howe was the inventor whose patient genius fundamentally reshaped daily life, giving the world the lock-stitch sewing machine. His creation didn't just speed up a tedious task, it dismantled centuries of hand-sewn tradition, paving the way for the modern garment industry and the very concept of ready-to-wear fashion. This monumental leap required a mind of incredible precision to solve the complex puzzle of an automated stitch, using a needle with its eye at the point and a reciprocating shuttle. Now, this focused intellect is being made visible through the power of artificial intelligence. By restoring his 19th century portraits, AI reveals a patient, precise face. The clarity of the image highlights a man whose intense gaze seems wholly consumed by the intricate interplay of mechanics and movement, the living embodiment of the focused mind that revolutionized the world, one perfect stitch at a time. 6. Carl Benz. Carl Benz was the visionary engineer who fundamentally altered the course of human history by designing and building the world's first practical automobile powered by a gasoline engine. His 1886 patent motor wagon was not merely a machine, it was the birth certificate of personal mobility, requiring immense foresight and meticulous skill to bring to life. This foundational figure of the automotive age is now being viewed through the clarifying lens of modern technology. Artificial intelligence revives his 19th century portraits, bringing his sharp German features into crisp definition and highlighting the unmistakable inventor's drive in his eyes. In the restored images, we see more than just a historical figure. We see the steady, determined gaze and focused expression of a man whose mechanical genius literally set the modern world in motion. 7. Alexander Graham Bell. Alexander Graham Bell did more than just invent the telephone. He fundamentally rewired the fabric of human connection. His invention transformed the world from a collection of distant communities into a global conversation, allowing a voice to travel across wires and instantly bridge any divide. Yet his lifelong passion was not merely for technology, but for communication itself, a drive deeply rooted in his work as an educator for the deaf. This profound duality of purpose, the scientific and the deeply human, is now brought into sharper relief through the power of artificial intelligence. Restored photographs cut through the sepia haze to bring out his curious, noble demeanor, highlighting the keen intelligence of a scientist in his eyes and a compassionate dignity in his expression. In these revitalized images, the two halves of his legacy merge, revealing the face of a man who was equal parts brilliant inventor and dedicated humanitarian. 8. Louis Pasteur. Louis Pasteur was a titan of science, a chemist and microbiologist whose pioneering breakthroughs saved countless millions of lives. By establishing the germ theory of disease and developing the revolutionary processes of vaccination and pasteurization, he armed humanity against its most deadly invisible enemies, from anthrax and rabies to the pathogens in everyday food. His work was not an abstract intellectual exercise, it was a direct, life-altering intervention in the story of human health. This profound humanitarian legacy is now being viewed with new intimacy through the power of artificial intelligence. The digital restoration of his 19th century portraits cuts through the historical haze to reveal a man of immense focus and compassion. In his steady, determined gaze, we see the meticulous concentration of the scientist, yet his features also convey a deep-seated gravity and kindness, the very embodiment of science with a conscience, a brilliant mind relentlessly driven by the mission to alleviate suffering. 9. Alfred Nobel. Alfred Nobel's legacy is one of history's most compelling paradoxes, an inventor who amassed a fortune by perfecting a tool of immense destructive power, dynamite. Though intended for industrial use, its application in warfare haunted him, especially after a premature obituary famously condemned him as the merchant of death. This deeply affected Nobel, who then dedicated his vast wealth to an act of monumental atonement, the creation of the Nobel Prizes, an endowment celebrating the greatest achievements in service to humanity. This profound inner conflict is precisely what artificial intelligence now brings into focus. By restoring his historical portraits, AI peels back the veneer of the industrialist to bring back a strikingly melancholy and introspective expression. In the revived clarity of his features, we see the weary, contemplative face of a man burdened by his own creation, his gaze turned inward as he grappled with how to build a lasting legacy of progress upon a foundation of controlled destruction. 10. George Stephenson. George Stephenson, aptly known as the father of railways, was the rugged, self-taught engineer who ushered in the age of steam-powered land travel. He didn't just perfect a locomotive, he envisioned and constructed the entire system, culminating in the world's first public inner-city railway line, which connected Stockton and Darlington. This monumental feat of practical engineering annihilated previous concepts of distance, accelerating the Industrial Revolution and fundamentally reshaping society. Today, this titan of industry is being brought into sharper focus by modern technology. Artificial intelligence restores his 19th-century portraits, stripping away the fade of time to reveal the rugged and profoundly practical features of a man of action. We see a firm, determined expression and the steady gaze of a hands-on builder, the very embodiment of the iron will and mechanical genius required to lay the tracks that would set the modern world in motion. 11. James Clerk Maxwell. James Clerk Maxwell was a quiet giant of physics, a man whose theoretical insights triggered one of science's deepest revolutions. With a set of famously elegant equations, he achieved what was once unthinkable, unifying the disparate forces of electricity, magnetism, and light into a single cohesive theory of electromagnetism. This profound revelation not only explained the very nature of light, but also directly paved the way for Einstein's theories of relativity and the entire field of modern physics. Today, the face of this pivotal figure is being brought into sharper focus by artificial intelligence. By restoring his historical portraits, AI cuts through the 19th-century haze to reveal a brilliant and deeply contemplative face. In his clear, thoughtful gaze and calm demeanor, we see the profound intellect and quiet confidence of a mind capable of perceiving the universe's most fundamental harmonies, the human source of an idea that forever changed how we see the world. 12. Joseph Swan. While Edison often gets the sole credit, Sir Joseph Swan was a brilliant British physicist and inventor who played a crucial parallel role in illuminating the modern world. He patented a long-lasting incandescent light bulb in Britain a year before Edison's equivalent US patent, and his home was the first in the world to be lit by electric light. His key innovation was a carbon filament derived from cotton, a breakthrough that helped solve the problem of durability. This formidable intellect, often overshadowed in popular history, is now being brought into clearer view through artificial intelligence. Restored photographs cut through the vintage fade to bring back the quintessential 19th-century bearded thinker, highlighting a face that is both wise and intently focused. In the enhanced clarity of his features, we can see the thoughtful and determined mind of the man whose pioneering work was instrumental in pulling civilization out of the darkness. 13. Richard Gatling. Richard Gatling was an American inventor whose most famous creation, the Gatling gun, marked a terrifying turning point in the history of warfare. By developing a multi-barrel, hand-cranked machine gun, he replaced the single-shot rifle with a weapon capable of unleashing an unprecedented volume of fire, dramatically shifting battlefield dynamics and foreshadowing the automated carnage of the 20th century. Yet, Gatling himself was a man of complex motivations, reportedly hoping his invention would be so horrifying that it would demonstrate the futility of war and thus reduce the need for large armies. Now, this profound internal conflict is made visible by artificial intelligence. Restoring his historical photographs, AI captures the deep contradiction in his face. You can see the brilliant, ordered mind of an inventor in his steady gaze, yet also the heavy, complex burden of a man whose ingenuity brought forth such devastating, destructive potential. 14. Charles Babbage. Widely regarded as the grandfather of the computer, Charles Babbage was a visionary English mathematician whose mind operated a century ahead of his time. In an era powered by steam, he conceived of the difference engine and the analytical engine, vast, intricate mechanical calculators that were the first designs for a programmable machine. While he was never able to fully construct his complex devices, his detailed plans laid the complete conceptual groundwork for modern computing, from memory storage to a central processing unit. This formidable, forward-looking intellect is what artificial intelligence now brings into sharp relief. By digitally restoring his portraits, AI cuts through the 19th century haze to reveal the sheer intensity of a mind far ahead of its time. In his piercing, focused gaze and the firm set of his features, we see the frustration and the formidable brain power of a genius who could see the digital future but was trapped by the mechanical limitations of his present. 15. Ada Lovelace. Ada Lovelace, a brilliant mathematician and daughter of the poet Lord Byron, stands as a true visionary in the history of technology. While working on Charles Babbage's proposed analytical engine, she achieved a monumental conceptual leap that even Babbage himself had not articulated. She recognized that the machine could manipulate not just numbers, but any symbol, like letters or musical notes, if translated into digital form. In her detailed notes, she authored what is now considered the world's first computer algorithm, making her the first ever computer programmer. Today, artificial intelligence restores her portraits, revealing the remarkable fusion of her identity. The enhancements bring out a refined, aristocratic elegance in her bearing, but they also sharpen the keen, perceptive focus in her eyes. In this revived image, we see a figure who was both regal and revolutionary, a woman whose sharp intellect saw beyond mere calculation and into the poetic, boundless future of computing. 20 faces, 20 stories. They weren't just inventors, they were visionaries who dared to imagine what didn't exist. AI doesn't just bring back their portraits, it revives their restless minds. Which inventor's image or legacy impressed you the most? Let us know in the comments. Click here to watch more.